All right, we are recording. Perfect. Like I said, my name is Braden Jones. I work here at the University of Iowa, but let's get started. Our first speaker is going to be Dr. Giovanni Zimotti. I want to introduce a little bit about him. He is the director of the Spanish language instruction here at the University of Iowa. He holds a PhD in Spanish linguistics from the University of Alabama. And he does teach Spanish, even though he himself is from Italy. And he is a good friend of mine, and I'm grateful for him to be putting this conference together. And I'm glad to be able to work with him. So I'm going to turn the time over to him since our time is short. Go ahead, Giovanni.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're trying this hybrid format this time, so hopefully it's going to work well. And this is our first event for this new organization we created. So let me start. This is not working anymore.
It was.
Can you pass me the mouse, please? Oh, no, it's working
there we
now.
go.
Okay, so this is the schedule for today. We have a mix between people from academia and people from the tech world. So there's going to be like different type of talks today in the morning. And the afternoon session is only for HEROE-S members. If you want to become one, if you want to collaborate with us, we are open for new members. There is no fee to become a member, just participation. And Braden Jones, they work here at the CLCL, and they support the Spanish program at the University of Iowa, and they're gonna be our host. Oh, and we forgot about that. I'm Giovanni Zimotti. I've been working a lot lately in the last like 2 or 3 years with OER, with Fernando Castro Ortiz. We wrote this textbook about intermediate Spanish for education professionals. We also wrote another textbook with Alexis Jimenez about same level. We just adapted the Salón de Clase textbook, and this is for healthcare professionals. I'm also working with Braden, Gabby here, and Rachel on a textbook for elementary Spanish 1. This is a work in progress. It's not ready yet. Hopefully, we will get it done soon. And with Alexis Jimenez, we are also working on a different project that is still going to be VR. We are recording some VR scenarios for medical interpreting. They will be available soon on YouTube for students to like practice VR interaction when usually they can't anymore due to COVID. There are more restrictions in the hospital, so this is a way for students studying interpreting to practice those interactions. Just let me introduce a little bit about open educational resources. Many of you already know this because you came here, you are interested in this topic, but it's basically just learning, teaching, and research material released under free license, Creative Commons license, public domain, a little bit like Linux used to be for computer or still is, but this is for educational resources. There are some of those pillars, the main component for something to be OER. It has to be free, so the students don't have to pay anything. We should be able to reuse it, meaning I can use it one semester, someone can use it another semester, just the way it is. Everyone should also be able to adapt it. So I can grab Braden's textbook and change it and use it in my class. That's perfectly fine with OER. Also, we should be able to remix them. So I can grab one textbook, another textbook, and just make a textbook for my class, or just some material from my class. And another main component is the possibility to share them with people. This is just like a little bit to talk about this organization we created. I started working on this project last August, last summer, contacting people I knew were interested in OER, and we're still expanding, getting new people on board. This is a map of where the majority of the members are from. It's a little bit outdated. There are new people from other states. That's our website over there and our email. So if you want to join us, if you have questions for us, just contact us. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the problem of today. And there are many articles, or if you have been teaching languages, you already know about this problem. Why are language textbooks so expensive? There is one factor: the publishers are charging a lot of money for them. And then there is another component that we use, an online component for our textbook. And you can see here from these articles, students usually pay around like $200, $100, something like that, to use an online textbook. And the main problem is that textbook prices keep rising. So as you can see from this data from fall 2020, in the last 20 years, textbook prices have been on the rise. The blue line is the inflation. The orange line is the textbook. And each student at a university college in the US spends on average $1,298 per academic year. That's a lot of money for students. At the University of Iowa, students studying a language, they pay on average for a language textbook between around $110 per semester. So when a student is taking like 4 classes, that's a lot of money. And if we want students to like taking languages, we should try to reduce this cost to 0. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the barrier to OER use, because there are many people working on OER, but there are still some barriers, some things that are stopping people to use OER. In this first slide here, I'm just going to show some data, general data from a study that was recently published from 4 different universities. One was Iowa State. And they try to ask like all faculty, no matter what topic they teach. So there are like faculties from humanity, from computer science and medical, from all kind of topics. And what they found out about the barriers is that faculty want to use them. They don't have, in general, a personal concern about adopting OER. But the 2 main barriers are lack of support and time need to adopt and adapt resources. So those are like the 2 main constraints for them. And those are like all the data they found out. So at the question, which of the following do you see as a barrier to your use of OER? Time constraint, most answer. And then you can see a lot of answers are like finding. So people are having trouble finding resources, locating them, finding high quality resources. So this is like, in general, what people are missing. Now for this conference, since we had like a lot of participants, I decided to run a study about just 4 languages. And teaching language is totally, in my opinion, teaching language is totally different from teaching a normal class. Even if you look at textbook, normal textbook, there is a lot of text, maybe some images, and students can just like study. And I'm just generalizing. It's not true for everything, but for language is different. Students need to practice, they need to talk, they need to come to class and do a lot of different things that they're not required to do for a more traditional class. So I sent a survey to the participants of these conferences. Up to yesterday, we got 13 responses. The majority of people were non-tenure track faculty. All except 1 had more than 10 years of experience teaching languages. So all experienced people. And the survey is ongoing, so I'm going to add the link here in the PowerPoint. Or you can find the PowerPoints we're using today inside the Cadence website. You can either go on schedule material, or there is a tab called material, and you can find all the PowerPoints for we're using today. So share it with other language teachers, take it, and we can get more data about this problem. And the main finding is that OER is difficult. Again, using OER is difficult for a lot of people. Why is that? So this is like something very specific to language learning. And I asked, what component do you regularly use in your language classroom? And almost everyone uses an online homework platform. So this is the main component used in a language classroom. Also, almost everyone uses a textbook, of course, and almost all teachers, they go online to find videos from other online sources to explain grammar, maybe to find authentic interaction in the target language. And this was not in the options, but there was in others. And many people said that they create their own material. Less popular component used by the language instructor surveyed by the study, test and quizzes created by others, lesson plan created by others. So that means that we all create our own tests, we all create our own quizzes, and we all work a lot on creating our own lesson plans. And then what's the biggest barrier of adoption for OER? Many of you said it's hard to find, the lack of ancillary videos. There is a need for a cultural change in the departments, in the university. And then the two most popular options were time. It takes a lot of work to create or to find an OER that works for your class. And also the lack of online homework platforms. So those are like the two main reasons why people do not use OER. And this was an open-ended question, so everyone could say whatever they wanted, and I just had to like code them based on your answers. And I want to finish with just like this answer from one of the participants of the study to this question: what's the biggest barrier? Existence and familiarity. They think that once they exist and people know about them, they will revolutionize higher education. They're also pointing out that no one has been happy about textbooks in printer form for a long time, and the OER format solved so many of the usual problems that we have in our language classrooms.
Recording in progress.
So that was it. My presentation was supposed to be very short, just kind of like a welcome to this conference, an introduction to everyone. I want to thank everyone that is attending the conference, our speakers for the day, the virtual ones and the one here in the CLCL, the organizing committee of the conference that have been doing a lot of work between the website, contacting people, and of course the CLCL for hosting us and supporting us. We have Lauren over there in charge of the chat and admitting people, Braden over here, and Claire is hiding somewhere. And we have a few minutes for questions, and then we can move to the next speaker.
It looks like the chat's actually disabled right now.
Okay, so
I need to fix that.
So if you have questions, we have 4 minutes, or we can take just a break. If you don't have questions, just yell it, unmute yourself and yell.
I have a question. My name is Nuria Lopez. I work at University of Cincinnati. Thank you very much for this presentation. Is there a comprehensive website or a number of websites where you can find, you know, like a wealth of resources? Because I think that part of the problem is thinking, oh, you have to go and look here and look there and just pick, you know, but is there a place where there are a wealth of resources for people to go and look without having to go and do the research for their own, on their own?
So I'm aware of one website that was created by a professor from a community college in California. Her name is Christine Moon, if I remember correctly. I might be saying their name wrong. And she compiled a number of resources specifically for Spanish. And I will try to find the website again by the end of the day and put it on the chat. But one of the problems of OER is that the fragmentation. So there is OpenStax, it's an organization doing something for OER, and they have some textbooks over there. Then there is Merlot, then there is Coert for languages, but it's so spread.
Looks like we've got some links entered in the chat.
Thank you.
Christine Munoz also had her hand raised.
Hola, Christine.
Hola, thank you for that question. I am working with a colleague at Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon, to build a repository website for a very specific repository of online resources for health narratives. And so one issue that we face is how to make people aware of its existence. So the links that people are putting in the chat are places where these OER resources have been apparently collected. And we are building this repository around a particular kind of, a particular theme, a particular kind of course. And we have a dissemination strategy in mind to make people aware of its existence. And I will put my email in the chat. And so we will come to groups like this to make people aware of the existence of the repository once it launches sometime in spring of 23. And we'll always be asking questions of how to make that repository more visible.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, that's the main problem. You know, traditional publishers, they were just like so many salespeople that can go around and, you know, try to portray their textbooks. But for OER, it's a little bit different. But yeah, please share your project with us or with everyone. And someone is asking for your email in the chat. I think we have time for.
I just wanted to say, honestly, some of our best resources
Is there someone else
are
with the
our
raise hand?
institutional librarians. Because I know here at U of I, we have some librarians who are really invested in OER and who really want to make sure that these are accessible and available and findable. So if you don't know how to find what you're looking for, reach out to your librarian, because these people are information professionals, and as good as many of us are at investigating our areas of study, sometimes our Google foo is not as strong as we wish it were. So that's when we reach out to our librarians who are so good at finding those things. That's just all I wanted to say.
Next person.
All right, let's get started with our next person.